The rain came down like corrupted data on a dead terminal, and I stepped into the underground with my collar high and my eyes open. July 18 to July 25, 2026, that was the week on the docket, but the street had a problem. No verified bodies, no clean leak site ledger, no fresh law notice in my hand. In this part of town, a rumor can wear a victim's name like a stolen coat, and if you print it too fast, you become part of the con. So tonight's dispatch comes with a hard rule carved into the desk with a switchblade. I will not invent victims, ransom notes, arrests, or dark web boasts for a week I cannot independently verify. The digital underground thrives on fog, forged screenshots, planted chatter, and cheap fear. A detective who cannot tell a corpse from a mannequin has no business working homicide. But the alleys are still talking, and the old crews, the real crews, left enough blood on the pavement to read the pattern. The ransomware trade did not appear out of smoke. It evolved from crude locker jobs into organized extortion syndicates with affiliates, negotiators, data leak crews, malware developers, access brokers, and money launderers, all sitting at the same crooked table. Lockbit, before law enforcement hit its infrastructure in Operation Kronos in 2024, ran like a black market franchise. Affiliates brought access, deployed payloads, and split the take. The gang used double extortion, encryption plus data theft, and kept a leak site as both billboard and gallows. Black Cat, also known as ALPHV, worked the same neighborhood with sharper shoes. Written in Rust, flexible across Windows and Linux, it became known for high-pressure extortion, data theft, and ruthless negotiation. The group's affiliates were tied to intrusions involving stolen credentials, vulnerable remote access, and exploitation of public-facing systems. In the Change Healthcare attack reported in 2024, ALPHV was linked to a catastrophic healthcare sector breach that showed every hospital boardroom in America what happens when billing pipes become hostage routes. Then there was KeoEp, a crew that liked mass exploitation more than noisy break-ins. They turned file transfer software into an extortion turnstile. Excellion FTA in 2021, Go Anywhere MFT in 2023, MOV at Transfer in 2023. The Move It campaign, tied by many researchers to the TA505 and IFIN 11 orbit, exploited CVE 2023-34362, a SQL injection vulnerability, to steal data from hundreds of organizations. No need to encrypt every machine when the crown jewels are already in the bag. That was the lesson. The modern extortion racket does not always kick down the door. Sometimes it walks through a vendor tunnel with a badge made of 0-day. Initial access is still the cigarette girl in this rotten club, smiling while she sells poison. Phishing never left. Stolen VPN credentials remain a favorite skeleton key. Remote desktop protocol, when exposed or weakly protected, still draws criminals like moths to a neon sign. Exploited edge devices are the new back alley. Fortinet, Citrix, Ivanti, Cisco, Palo Alto, and MoveIt-style managed transfer platforms have all been prime hunting ground when flaws land and patch cycles lag. Once inside, the playbook is familiar. Recon with built-in tools, privilege escalation, credential theft with Mimikatz, LSASS dumping, or tools like Lasagna. Lateral movement through CXSec, WMI, RDP, and stolen domain admin rights. The payload is only the closing argument. Before that comes the quiet work. Cobalt Strike, when abused, has long been a favored command and control framework, though cracked copies and alternatives like Sliver, Brute Ratel, Mythic, and Havoc have become common in criminal hands. Exfiltration often moves through rclone, Mega, FileZilla, WinSCP, or custom scripts pointed at cloud storage. Defense evasion may include disabling EDR, tampering with backups, clearing logs, and abusing legitimate remote management tools like AnyDesk, Atera, Screen Connect, and TeamViewer. That is the new getaway car. It looks like a company vehicle. Down in the forums, the old bazaars keep changing names, but the trade remains the same. Initial access brokers sell footholds by revenue band, geography, sector, and privilege level. One listing might advertise VPN access to a manufacturing firm. Another might offer domain admin in a school district, a hospital chain, or a logistics outfit. The buyer does not always ask how the key was cut. Maybe it came from InfoStealer logs, maybe from phishing, maybe from an unpatched appliance left to rot on the edge of the network. InfoStealers are the pickpockets of the underground, and business is good. Redline, Raccoon, Vidar, Llama, Metastealer, and related families have fed markets with browser cookies, saved passwords, crypto wallet data, Telegram sessions, FTP credentials, and corporate login tokens. A single infected home machine used by an employee can cough up access to a cloud dashboard, a VPN portal, or a software repository. That is how the street works now. The office does not end at the office. Every personal laptop, every reused password, every stolen session cookie is a side door with bad lighting. Ransomware as a service has also learned from every police raid and every gang betrayal. When Conti fell apart after its internal chats leaked in 2022, pieces of the crew scattered into new corners of the racket. Royal, Black Basta, Akira, and other groups showed methods and tradecraft that researchers have often compared with older Russian-speaking e-crime ecosystems. When one brand gets too hot, the actors do not vanish. They shave, change suits, and open under a new sign. Leak sites go down, mirrors appear, affiliates complain. Admins disappear with money. Then the machine starts again. Law enforcement has landed real punches. Operation Kronos disrupted Lockbit infrastructure and exposed parts of its operation. Hive was infiltrated by the FBI before its takedown in 2023, with decryption keys quietly passed to victims. The Quack botnet, long used as an initial access pipeline for ransomware crews, was disrupted in Operation Duck Hunt in 2023. Emotet was taken down before that, though loaders and access markets quickly adapted. They burn infrastructure, shake trust, and force criminals to rebuild. But they do not end the economy. They raise the cost of doing business in hell. What this tells us is simple and ugly. The future of ransomware is less about one magic malware strain and more about an ecosystem. Access brokers feed affiliates. Info stealers feed brokers. Vulnerability exploitation feeds both. Data theft gives criminals leverage even when backups work. Cloud consoles, identity providers, remote monitoring tools, and edge appliances are now part of the battlefield. If defenders are only watching for the final encryption event, they are arriving after last call, when the safe is empty and the bartender is wiping blood off the counter. The practical defense is not glamorous, but it keeps people alive. Patch internet-facing systems fast, especially VPNs, firewalls, file transfer tools, and remote access gateways. Enforce phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication where possible, especially for privileged users and remote access. HUT for impossible travel, suspicious token use, new admin accounts, unusual R-clone or mega traffic, remote management tools appearing where they do not belong, and sudden attempts to disable security agents. Segment networks, test backups, keep offline copies, and make sure restoration is more than a prayer written in a policy binder. Defenders should also watch the identity layer like a pawn shop owner watches the door. Stolen credentials are the cheapest gun in the underground. Monitor for leaked corporate accounts and info stealer logs. Reset passwords when logs surface, but do not stop there. Revoke sessions, rotate tokens, audit OAuth grants, and check whether the attacker already created persistence. On the endpoint, look for LSASS access, suspicious PowerShell, unusual archive creation, mass file staging, and outbound transfers to cloud storage. On the business side, rehearse the extortion call before it comes. Legal, communications, security, executives, and insurers should not be meeting for the first time while a ransom clock is ticking. As for this week, July 18 to July 25, 2026, I will not pin a badge on a ghost. Bring me the leak site captures, the vendor reports, the law notices, the forum posts, the Telegram chatter, and I will put names to shadows. Until then, the lesson from the alley is clear. The gangs change names, the tools change hands, and the markets change doors, but the racket keeps breathing. This is Jack Cipher fading back into the wire where the neon never dies and the underground never sleeps.